Hello and welcome to this Girl Develop It meeting. Today we'll be covering sliders and focusing on how to code for a color picker. All right, so today we'll be quickly reviewing syntax for the canvas element and how to do color input from last meeting. And then we'll be learning how to code sliders, and we will also be doing a color picker project. And then as always, we'll have practice for you to utilize the applications you learned today, and we'll also go over a sample solution. All right, so now we're going to quickly recap color input from 2 weeks ago.
So again, as a review, so we made a function called doColor, which sets up the canvas element. And so in the code first, we initialize a variable called canvas. So var canvas equals document.getElement by ID, and then can. And then this initializes the canvas variable. And then after that, the var color input equals document.getElement by ID, and then CLR, which sets up the color input variable. And then we set up the canvas background color to whatever value is stored in the color input variable. So we reference the CLR and can, but we still have to code this in HTML for the color picker. So if we suppose that the function doColor codes for the canvas and color input variables, all we now need to do is set up the color picker button. So this code looks really familiar. The input is now color, the ID is now CLR, and the onChange function is now doColor, which we just coded. And then the value, the hex variable sets the default color input value to red, which you can replace with whatever you want.
All right, so on to the new stuff for today. So right now we'll be learning how to make sliders.
So now we're going to create a function called doSquare, which sets up the slider, and then the code var slider input equals document.getElement by ID, and then SLR. This initializes the slider input variable. And then after that, the variable length or len is set to whatever value is in the slider input. So you all should know how to set up a canvas variable, which we already did, but there's that. And then finally, the variable context basically initializes a rectangle in the canvas by doing the canvas.getContext2D, which you can see in the code. So again, we still have to code whatever we referenced in the JavaScript with HTML. So if we suppose that the function doSquare codes for the canvas and slider variables, all we need to do is set up the slider range button. So the code should look really familiar, and the input type is now range. The ID is now SLR. And then the onChange function is now doSquare, which we coded. And then the min and max values represent the range of the slider, which could determine things like pixel length.
All right, so given all this new material, we're now going to try and code these applications. So you can do this on CodePen, or you can search up an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript editor. So for today, you can either work on the color picker application from last time, or you can do a project on a slider. So for example, making a rectangle on a canvas, and that changes sizes based on the slider's value. And you can use the doSquare function on the right to help you code for this. And we already went over the code from previous slides. So right now, go ahead and pause the video. And when you finish trying out one of these, you can resume watching. All right, so we're now going to move on to some samples. All right, so this is the color picker application from last time. I won't go over the code. You can watch the last video for us going over what exactly all of this code does. But basically this one, it's like you click here and you can adjust the colors to get the RGB values right here, which is useful for if you wanted to code your own website and need a particular shade. You could use this to figure out what values you need for that. So for the slider application, all right, so you can see the HTML code for the slider over here. I also included a color picker at the bottom so that you can change the background color. So like, for example, you just slide this down here and then that changes the background color. So over here, do color is for changing the background color to match whatever value is in the color input. And then this do square function is for changing the rectangle size based on whatever the slider's value is. So if we go over here, you click on this and you should be able to drag this. Hold on 1 second. Oh, wait, sorry. It's the slider right here. So you can do the slider and the rectangle will change in size. All right. Awesome. So that's all we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching up to here. So our next meeting and the last one for this year will be released on April 14th. So in 3 weeks because of spring break. And we'll be doing a green screen mini project and reviewing everything we've learned about web development for this year. Officer applications will also be released. Please check out your email for the link, and that will be due by the end of spring break. There's a sign-in form again in case you weren't able to fill out before. So see you all after spring break.